next speaker, our keynote speaker, our so I would like to introduce Krystal Cooper. Ms. Cooper is a creative technical professional with 10 plus years of experience in the media, entertainment, and technology industry. She's currently working as a senior TPM at Unity Technologies. Krystal is a UCR alum and studying computer science, media, and cultural studies here at UCR. She's also the founder of the Black Alumni Chapter at UCR. So, Krystal, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Um, I'm happy to talk to you all today. I've been in your shoes. I've had internships and worked at different companies over the course of my career. Um, I'll give you a little bit of background about me, and then what I really wanted to talk to you all about, just have a conversation about being true to yourself as you look for internships and start your careers. So, like Vanessa said, I am a UCR alum. Go Highlanders! I started off in Bourne's College of Engineering, and I took classes all over campus in Chaz, anything I pretty much could get my hands on that was like creative or designer that I could mesh with like computer science and everything. I went to grad school at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and I got a degree in information science, focusing on spatial and virtual reality. And then I'm working on my MBA now at Pepperdine with a focus on entertainment, media, and sports management. So, like I said, today I want to talk to you about being true to yourself while you think about jobs and internships. When I started as an undergrad, I interned at companies like Xerox, Polaroid, Wilson Sporting Goods, in different departments. And throughout my career, I've worked at companies like Rhythm and Hughes, Apple, Caterpillar, Disney, both at Industrial Light and Magic, as well as Marvel, Warner Brothers Studios, MTV Animation. And then I switched gears a little bit. I worked at Career Builder, which some of you may use, as you look for internships and jobs. And currently, I work at Unity as a senior technical program manager in the gaming industry. So, being true to yourself as an engineer means that you really are just thinking about how to solve problems. You're a true problem solver. So, it doesn't matter what your discipline is, you could be a mechanical engineering major, computer science major. That type of skill is going to stay with you throughout your career. And the people that you're going to talk to today and other career fairs and when they have campus visits, they're hiring you because you can do both of those things very well. You can problem solve as well as be creative in the way that you do your problem solving. So make sure when you go talk to these people, these recruiters or hiring managers, that you don't just talk about yourself, but you talk about the projects that you've done, your homework, their side projects that you've done with your friends, things that they can see that they have tangible proof that you've been applying what you've learned in school. And while all those things are very cool, there's other things that make you a great engineer. They're called soft skills, how you talk to people, how you treat other people, other disciplines that you can be able to pull in as you problem solve. So things like relationship building, leading and managing teams. So that could be a club that you're in. That's just as valuable as you being able to do your math equations or creating an algorithm for some of your class projects. And the other thing that you should think about is while you research these companies, think about not just the company, the name that might be, very well known. Look at their board of directors. Look at their financials. What have they done? What are they doing in the news? What's some new innovative product that they launched? These are all different areas that you just don't work for the company in your specific role, but these are all the things that impact the company culture that you will be interning or starting your career at. Other things that means to be true to yourself, it means that you should choose things that you're interested in. Don't try and force yourself to go to a company that it's maybe right around the corner, or maybe your parents don't want you to go very far. Try and be open minded. Some of these companies have traveled, when we're in person, but they travel very far to try and recruit from UCR because they have one of the best engineering schools in the country. And so when you think about that, you know, learn about things that they have smaller sub companies that they may have recently purchased, or maybe their operations overseas. And sometimes that also includes not only just, typical internships and career opportunities, but that also includes research, undergraduate research experiences too at universities. And one of the other things that I think is really, really important as you go talk to, I think is what, 100 companies at the career fair today. And some of the other conferences like NSBE and SHIP and Grace Hopper, you can really like get overwhelmed with the amount of information. So, just kind of be patient with yourself, take a beat in between going to talk to recruiters, give yourself a chance to take notes and follow up with the companies that you really, are interested in. Um, Something else that's really important is knowing how to bring value to where you go. So, you're going to talk about your projects, you're going to talk about what you're interested in, what year you are in school, maybe you're a graduating senior, but there's something that makes you special and there's something that makes you unique. Maybe it's your design thinking, maybe it's a robot that you designed or a competition that you won. Those are things that make you stand out from all the other candidates in your class, all the other candidates around the country, because they only have so many slots for internships. And once you become like a fully employed, a full-time employee, they only have so much head count, per quarter that they're hiring for. So you definitely want to put your best foot forward in that way. Um, Another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if everyone has seen Soul. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. Think about your true passion versus your purpose. Right now you've been like heads down taking classes, and you think that's all I want to do for the rest of my life, or I think that's what I want to do. And that's a little bit different from your purpose. So sometimes we have these aspirational goals of I have to work for this company, or I got to go work here. And in reality, when you go talk to the recruiters and you go to the website, you figure out like, well, I want to work this company, but maybe in a different division, or I heard they're spinning up a new company. Give yourself some space to be flexible in that area. Don't get hung up on the titles. They change from company to company. I can assure you, I've been through quite a few. Even though you may be doing different things, they it really does depend. So don't worry too much about that. Just find a place that's a really good fit for you when you start to apply. Or, you may get an email or they may approach you saying, hey, someone sent me your resume and we think you'd be a good fit here. So think about other non-traditional fields, job titles. Maybe you want to be a researcher or an administrator or a teacher. I know a lot of the focus is on the career fair, but always keep in the back of your mind entrepreneurship, becoming a founder, either with your friends, your classmates. There's also small companies that are local, to the area. Maybe you're not quite ready to leave, the area. I know a lot of things are virtual right now, but eventually things will open back up and you'll have to travel. My first internship was in Boston, and I had never been to Massachusetts. And I was scared to death going that far away from my family. But the summer ended up being amazing. And then I kind of like got hooked. And that's kind of like what happens, if any of you guys have tattoos. You get one and it's like you just have to keep going. So, then you want to go to another state, or you want to go to another country to do your internship or start your career. And it's just a lot of fun. So think about that, think about the size of the company. Obviously there's big companies that you see in the news all the time. And then there's other smaller companies that make really, really life-changing products, whether it's medical, it could be construction. As the dean mentioned, it could be Department of Water and Power. There are other ways to think about your career other than just going for, you know, the most popular thing that you see, you know, on TV. I also want you to think about being intellectually true to yourself. You know, you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it's very competitive out there. There are some people that they've won every hackathon, they have gotten every A, and they are some of the people that are competing against you for some of these internships, but that doesn't mean that that person will get the internship. You have to be a well-rounded person. So it's not just about grades, it's not just about winning competitions. It's about them selecting you because they think you'll be a good fit for their team and they think that you have room for growth. And that's at an internship where you may have a mentor assigned to you for the summer or your first job. You know, people want to know that you're willing to learn and grow in your career. And that could mean you stay on the engineering track, or maybe you become a leader and you want to be a manager one day. But all of those things start, you know, when you're telling yourself, like, okay, I know what I'm good at, but I know what also I could, you know, learn as well. Um, Something else to think about is knowing the unwritten rules and the company culture. So those are kind of like little um, tips that when you go to speak to some of these companies, maybe you speak their language. Like every company has kind of like a flavor. So look some of those things up, you know, maybe drop some of those buzzwords that, you know, you hear them say a lot. Um, Whether it's through YouTube videos, maybe have an Instagram account, you kind of get a sense of what it's like to work there. And it makes it that much more easier for the recruiter to say, okay, I think they'd be a really good fit here because they already sound like the people that work here. When you're talking to the recruiters, don't be afraid to talk about ideas you have for improvement. And I say that with caution because I don't want you to say things that sound like you're entitled, like you're about to come and change their whole infrastructure, you're about to change their whole company, but do it with um, some grace and humility that you saw something that you thought could be improved. And you'll see this a lot when you have these interviews. You'll have coding or whiteboard exercises where they even ask you like what's a feature that you think could be improved, and they want your opinion. They want to know that you can form an opinion and express that opinion in a very clear way, because you may be interviewing yourself excuse me, interviewing someone else one day, and that's an important skill to have. And last but not least, being intentional. You know, think about how your internship or your the jobs that you're looking for post graduation is going to impact the other parts of your life and other people around you. You know, where do you want to live? How much money do you need to live? How much money do you want to make? Is money even important to you? Is it more about the social impact of what these companies are doing on an environmental level? You know, what are they doing for corporate responsibility? Those things are important, as well as, you know, you figure out what's a really good fit for you. You know, you can talk about those things in your interview as well. You can ask those type of questions when they get to the part where they say, well, do you have any more questions? You know, you could talk about something that you saw recently or you heard maybe in a podcast where, you know, they've built a school in another country, or they've given money to a certain charity. Those things are also, you know, important. And again, those are things that are intangible that make you a really well-rounded potential candidate. You know, be true to your word. You know, don't pad your resume with a whole bunch of stuff you know you don't know how to do, or programming languages just because you saw it in a job description. They will fill you out very, very quickly, especially if you have to do a coding test, or if it's something else that they ask you to speak to, maybe a paper that you say you wrote or it was published or you presented at a conference. You know, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your accomplishments, but you also want to make sure that you don't get caught up in the hype of I have to know everything to get this job, because it's really not like that. You know, you have chance to learn that either in your classes or, you know, through your internship. Because if you already know it all, then what do they need to, you know, what do they need to hire you for? You know, also think about, you know, networking with your peers and your employers. You know, recruiters change companies, you know, they change companies too. So you might meet someone this year that is a recruiter at one company, and next year they're someplace else, so building a relationship with these people can also help your career, as well as your internship experience, because they'll remember you and they'll think, oh, I wonder what they're up to now. And if you keep in contact, that's a good way to stay at the top of their mind when they're looking for, their next candidate. And that also goes for, joining clubs, and joining professional organizations like IEEE, ACM. As a student, they also have potential leads for internships and jobs. And I'm sure you already get emails from your professors saying, hey, I got an email from a buddy of mine that is looking for an internship at XYZ company, So if you stay ready, you always have your resume up to date and you're ready to talk to these people and you make time, then it won't take you that long to find an internship. It's not just, applying online, but it's really more about relationship building and networking. And so I'm just going to leave you with this. Be true to your core values of who you are. As I mentioned, these companies are going to be, new to you. They're going to have a completely different pace of working than, you doing your homework and having 12 weeks to turn something in at work in the real world. It's completely different. You may have a week to turn around the same thing. So it's really a rapid pace that, you kind of need to get yourself prepared for. Having a mentor helps with this process, to kind of help guide you along. I know when I was in school, I had several mentors, um, Dr. Levester being one of them, and his wife that, helped me as I made different career choices, as well as for graduate school, thinking about how all those things kind of tie together. So having someone with experience that's been there is definitely helpful. Also be true to the people around you. A lot of your classes have different people from all walks of life and different backgrounds. And if you want a company that looks like that, then look for that on their company website. What are their diversity initiatives? How inclusive are they? You hear that a lot, DEI, D&I. That's what that means, diversity and inclusion. How comfortable do you feel? How comfortable would one of your classmates feel working at a company? And one day you're going to be in a position to make diverse and inclusive spaces, as you go through your career. And that also includes diversity of thought. That's very important. But the companies, now that with, computing being ubiquitous, it's in every field, in every endeavor, as well as all of the things that engineers do, it's all kind of come into one space. And that's going to be important as you work with people from all over the world. Most of my teams that I work with are in Copenhagen and Singapore, and many of them speak languages that I do not, as much as I would love to learn. But I am respectful of other people's cultures and other differences. But the one thing we all speak is, computing, so we have that in common. So think about that as you go through your career. And so I will leave you with that. Make sure you take care of yourselves and follow up with these recruiters. Say thank you for their time. Share positions with your classmates. Have hopefully they're sharing them with you, so everyone has an internship or a new job at the end of the career fair. And so I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Crystal. What a wonderful way to kick us off today. Be true to yourself. It's an amazing message to share with students. We do have 3 questions in the chat, and I believe you answered all of them, but I'm going to read them out in case you have some final thoughts. Hi, Ms. Cooper. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. What do you think were some key skills that helped you land internships? And what do you feel are the most important questions to ask a potential employer? And then
Hmm,
I do have another one,
okay.
which I think you covered, but it says, is work experience as valued as good grades when applying to internships?
Okay. I'm probably gonna answer these out of order, so keep me straight.
Okay.
So skills that helped me, I was just naturally curious about everything. I was always the student. I'm still like that now. I'm the yes and like if you need something done, sure, yeah, but I'll do it. I'm interested in learning. I don't know anything about it, or I think I can improve it. So just being naturally curious has pretty much carried me my entire career, and it only helps even more that I'm in a creative role because I like, film and television and entertainment and games. So just having a natural curiosity about things will open up so many doors for you because some people don't like learning new things and they kind of get stuck in a rut. So that's one of the things that's been helpful for me, as well as staying up to date on the latest and greatest. So, reading blogs and journals, even though I'm not in a technical graduate program, I still pretty much go to all of the different conferences. I go to SIGGRAPH. I'm still a member of a lot of the technical organizations, and that helps me stay a little bit ahead of the game to know what areas my company and I be focusing on, or technologies that we may acquire going forward. Let's see, what was the other question? It was what questions to ask, I think it was.
Yes.
What questions to ask? Depending on it, if it's an internship or if it is a new entry level role, ask them what the scope of the role is, especially if you're an engineer. So, scope and scope creep and project management are things you are never going to stop hearing. But ask them like what the depth and breadth of the work is that you'll be doing. Is it more administrative? Is it more hands on? Are there classes or things that you can read to prepare for your next interview? Because sometimes you do get an on the spot interview, but other times they'll give you a couple of weeks heads up to say, hey, you got 2 or 3 weeks. This is the type of interview you're going to have. These are the people that are going to interview. You're on a panel. So just being as prepared as possible with not only just the technical information, but exactly what you may be doing, and be flexible because it may change by the time you get there. So yeah. What was the last question?
Is work experience as important as grades while applying to internships?
Is the work experience as important as grades? It's an interesting question. And these are all great questions. I think work experience, there's a spectrum to that, right? Because you have a limited amount of work experience as an undergraduate. So no one's expecting you to have like 15 years of experience going into your first job. But what I think you may mean by that is, can you use your grades or your classes, and is that as important as having work experience? And I think it's true. I think showing that you've done exceptionally well at a particular class shows that you're disciplined. It shows that you can start and complete a project, which is super important. I think it also shows that you believe in putting your personal best forward. And so that is a different type of work experience. Good grades is a type of work experience because it requires a maximum effort for you to get maximum output to get good grades and graduate. And that's extremely valuable to employers because they want to know that they're hiring the best to output the best work at these companies.
Thank you so much, Krystal. Those are some really valuable thoughts. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're really grateful for the opportunity to have heard you and interacted with you. And we hope to collaborate in future as well. And yeah, we do not have any other questions. So we're going to move forward.